Welcome back to CryptosRus. I'm George. We're all George. ETF sell-off yesterday was quite horrendous. We had 867 million come out of Bitcoin ETF. We had 260 million come out of Ethereum's ETF. So obviously, if you add those two together, we're talking about over $1 billion that came out. Not good. Solana didn't have outflow, but barely anything. But the saving grace for yesterday is XRP. XRP's ETF actually took in 58 million, beating Solana's debut at 57 million. So there's that. That's good. That's good. Hey, look at, we're having a little recovery, a little bit here. But yeah, overall, fear level is really high. Okay, we're sitting at a fear level unseen since March, actually, going back to March and April, when everything was really truly falling and Bitcoin fell into the low 70s. Right, we're sitting well above that, but fear levels are just as high. Because, I mean, honestly, besides Bitcoin, the alts are back to that level, and some even below. So I recognize that some people are very fearful right now, right? But, besides all these macro stuff I mentioned, what's going on internally with just Bitcoin and crypto people? Well, the Coinbase Premium Index have now turned red, meaning people are definitely selling off a lot more. And according to Crypto Quant, Bitcoin's decline is driven by U.S. liquidity stress, some of this macro stuff I talked about, long-time holders' tax-driven profit-taking. Keep in mind, with crypto, you could still do tax harvesting by selling off at a loss and buying it back immediately. You don't have to wait. For stocks, you do. I think you have to wait a month before you could do that. For tax harvesting, well, there's a specific term for that. I forgot what it is. But for crypto, you can still do that. But anyways, long-term tax-driven profit-taking and persistent American selling. Together, these factors form a clear narrative. The current correction is primarily driven by the United States. The tax thing always comes every year, right? But normally speaking, not this early. We wait until the bull run is over. Then it happens. But that could be a thing too. But what is this American selling though? This, like we have all these like OG Bitcoiners. Not all these, okay? Honestly, it's just like a few. And I've said this before. It doesn't quite make a lot of sense. They're either selling and then they're like using the proceeds to like short the market. It's weird. It's like some of these guys just got bored. Or some of these whales, their wallets belong to exchanges. I don't know. But you guys know that a month ago, some OG wallet decided to sell like $300 million worth and then like decide to short Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like, how does that make sense? But we do have some of that going on right now too, right? None of it really makes a whole lot of sense, right? Even with all the macro fears right now, there's no reason to be having a global sell-off right now with everything. So is the end near? Did we already skip the top and we're coming down? We're entering crypto winter. Is this going to be over? Well, like I've been saying, the fundamentals have never been better. We still, from adoption standpoint, continue to have institutions, even countries, and then you have funds. You have all these guys still looking to load up on Bitcoin and still creating treasuries, not just for Bitcoin, but obviously for other crypto too, like ETH and Sol and XRP. Yesterday I covered one about Zcash. Those things have not changed. That's the most important thing. The fundamentals. The miners didn't leave. In fact, hash rate and difficulty continues to go up. That means the network is still secure and getting more secure every day. And again, you have all these countries that are coming out. Yesterday I covered about Taiwan. You have all these countries that's looking to create a treasury, or in this case, trying to move away from the dollar, and they want to get into Bitcoin mining, right? So this is part of the fundamentals that still very, very strong. Luxembourg's finance minister says their sovereign wealth fund have invested 1% of its asset in Bitcoin. 1% is a lot because we're talking about billions. But, you know, these guys could be moving up to 2, 3, 5%. Larry Fink actually, I think, recommends 5%. Right? So this is still all happening. This is good. And if you look at something like the global liquidity, the M2 money supply, it's been going up because countries have been printing more. And they're injecting because they need to. Economies, like the US economy ain't that great. China ain't that great. A lot of countries ain't that great. So they're injecting money. If Bitcoin comes back and follows the global liquidity, the global M2 money supply, the fair value actually should be around 170, not where we are right now at 96,000. So there's still a ways to go. Yesterday, in my video last night, I covered how the Treasury has their own kind of like bank account that they're supposed to be using to fund the economy and fund others with. That's at $1 trillion. That was all paused because of the government shutdown. Right now that it's over, they can start distributing that money, and that's part of it. There's a lot of money there. Just hasn't been used yet. And here's something else. Showing this from TechDev, showing the business cycle, and then our Bitcoin tops, and the pre-parabolic stage, which this one is vast. It's bigger than the prior two, according to TechDev. And here's the thing. We haven't had that parabolic phase yet. No matter what anyone says, we haven't had it yet. And here's the reason why. And ChatGPT actually made me see this. And I've heard other people say it, but you know, it makes a lot of sense. It just didn't come to mind. Parabolic phase is when people get filthy rich, right? You feel dirty. And that's when you hear about people buying expensive things, right? Like people coming out and saying, well, I'm shopping for my Lambo, or I'm shopping for a new luxury watch, like a Rolex or AP watch. And you see a lot of people make so much money, you know, you kind of feel that it's too good and it's going to come to an end. That's the FOMO euphoria stage. That's what happens right before a bubble bursts. Just like recently, when gold hit like 4,400 and the chart was going upwards, you knew that was going to come to an end. That was like a bubble top. We still haven't seen that for Bitcoin, and certainly we haven't seen that for alts. And that's kind of how you know the cycle's not over, because every cycle needs to have that euphoria top, the FOMO top, where everyone can't sit on the sidelines. Everyone wants a piece and wants the FOMO in, and we haven't had that yet. So that makes me think that if our current weakness continues, we're going to see that in 2026. We don't have to rely on this like 4-year gauge where we have to end either in November or December. The cycle could be prolonged. It could be extended. The situation is different. there's just a lot more money now, a lot more crypto, and a lot more macro factors at play. But it really makes me think, yeah, the cycle's not over until we get that parabolic stage, the one that we all been waiting for. And it just hasn't hit yet. So, is it the end for Bitcoin and crypto? The answer is no. No, not in my opinion. I don't think it's over. Can we see more weakness like next week or a week afterwards? Maybe even going into December. That's always a possibility. But remember, the market does the opposite of usually what everyone thinks. Right now, the fear level is so high and everyone thinks that we're going to go a lot lower. And that's usually when we turn around.